Hi Tea Society, welcome back to the Antisocial Planet, and today we are checking out IU's A Beautiful Person, I believe is the translation, which is featuring Balming Tiger. I feel like I've heard a feature with that artist before, but I don't have a good memory of it. Do I know the original of this song? No, of course I don't. When have I ever? It's like cause for celebration when I do. But I know that the music video has... I don't know if I'm gonna pronounce his name correctly. You know, I don't know if I'm pronouncing it even anywhere in the ballpark, but I know that he's acted in things. I'm fairly certain he's also in a idol group, and I'm pretty sure he's a 97 liner, but that is the extent of my knowledge. So really just going into this because I like IU and vibes. This is already stressing me out because hospitals, but okay. Interesting, like off-kilter sound. With the like snaps. Ooh, okay, interesting. First, like the synths that are happening. I love this like very laid back, almost lazy delivery that we're starting off with their vocals. And then this difference like shadow. I'm assuming this is like IU's character, possibly growing up from like birth. Growing up, maybe that's what we're doing, especially with the name of A Beautiful Person. And then we have another like person who's like light, dark and light. The crown too, their light crown, contrast to the darkness. Ooh, and like surrounded by friends, contrast to her being alone. Ooh, yeah. I feel like that's cheating. Interesting again, like light and dark. This person who's, you know, this light person that everyone is like given the lyrics like you're drawn to, right? Like a beautiful person, has all these friends, is doing all these things like accomplishments, even like the crown, right? In contrast to this young girl in shadow. Right, she's keeping score for someone else. Also think it's interesting to have like boy versus girl as well. Yeah, everyone loves you. Interesting that, and I do too. Like, there's like jealousy, I guess. Oh, prodigy, I guess. Interesting, like this distorted vocal in shadow again. It's a really fun production. So like a really fun production, like off kilter. And I think that fits so well with this too. If we're like following the story of IU's character being in the shadow, in the background, in these corners, right? Off to the side, not the center of attention. And then having this like off kilter sounding production, I think really fits with that story of being strange and weird and not something that's going to fit with every single person, in contrast to this like prodigy. And like I was saying, I think it's interesting to have one is a girl and one is a boy, especially just again, do I know South Korea? No, I'm not going to sit here and give like a bunch of judgments on it, but like the contrast of like men versus women, I know from like a Western perspective at least, there's definitely a difference there in terms of like how one is treated and the expectations that are put on them, or whether their capabilities. So I think that's also an interesting thing to bring into this. And again, just like really interesting to have like even the headphones, right? Again, blending into the background, pulling yourself out of reality so much that like you're even drowning out the noise, right? With like your own music. And I say this as an introvert and someone who is neurodivergent, asking me to exist in high school without my headphones? No, did not. I walked around all the time. Anytime that I had to be around a ton of people, I had music to help me manage. Even the like level different there, right? Like being physically higher up than her in a lot of these scenes too. Like she's sitting down, laying down. Yeah, I feel like you're not gonna blend in very well. The center there. Even her like crawling out of the, what, theater lecture? Oh, do we have a ring? Did we just get like fully dumped? Ooh, Ooh, I think it's interesting too to have, again, the first verse is this person who is so great because they're like this bright person. And then in contrast, I'm assuming it was like military service, right? Again, we talked before about, okay, like how do like men get treated in respects to like women, but also in South Korea, men have to do mandatory military service, right? So that's like a thing that they have to do that women don't. And that's like, again, bringing in some of those nuances of, is it so great? And are there things that are also like good and bad and like light and dark, right? And not being able to be undercover at night if you're like brightly emitting, right? Or like being in a theater, right? You're going to cause disruptions. So it's like both these moments of accomplishment with like graduating, but then also these moments of like it getting in the way of building a relationship. I love getting some of those nuances put in, right? Like people are like upset that he's there, which is not something that they usually are, right? Whereas like she's kind of like sneaking out of a dark place and she can do that without disrupting because she doesn't like, she blends into the shadows. Wow. I didn't notice the picture got blocked out too. Everyone loves you except when they don't, when it becomes inconvenient. Oh, are we causing damage? That might be a little difficult. Ooh, I noticed the like paper mache things that we had like before, like a mask. I think that's interesting too, is like now no one knows it's him. And I'm like, oh, don't cause like damage or start causing a scene because everyone's gonna know it's you because you're the only one like that. If you're like special or unique or whatever, that's gonna be, people are gonna recognize your face. Also, is this the actor that I was talking about that's featured in it? I find that kind of funny if you have someone who's known to be an actor. I know him as like an actor before knowing him as like, I'm fairly certain he's also in an idol group. Interesting to have someone who's known to be in dramas and they're like, yeah, we're gonna block his face for the majority of this video. I think that's a really funny thing to do too, to get someone who's known for like visuals and all of that. Like I would know him to see him just from like peripheral of existing in like the Korean media world. And then you're gonna make him unrecognizable. The majority of this video is pretty funny. I like it. Also, shout out to the team that had to like edit this. Ooh, I like the little vocal singing along. We have another one hiding, like no one can see her face, so she can like live more comfortably, but like for a different reason. Ooh, I think it's so interesting too to have them on the two ends of the sidewalk as well. Like they're from like two different kind of places and then they cross over. And again, like bridges, like we had the bridge before, crosswalks, like these crossing over points between one place and another is like very symbolic in a bunch of different media of transitioning from one point in your life to another, right? By crossing that bridge or crossing that whatever, right? And like the fact that he's like running to her, trying to get her attention, very flip side of the rest of the video and like what has been depicted through the rest of it, right? Of her kind of trying to blend into the background and not be noticed. And again, like living in a shadow of this like bright person, this beautiful person. Fun song too. I haven't talked about it as much. The video is really entertaining. Cute. A little like, maybe don't lay on the road though. And they can be like more themselves with the mask. Interesting like vocal delivery as well. Really interesting vocal delivery from IU throughout this, like tons of like character in it and a bit of a different tone from a lot of her songs that are more like these gorgeous kind of floaty vocals, especially the Never Ending Story before this. Very gorgeous ethereal vocals. And then this one like a little bit more fun, a little more off kilter, lots of more character in terms of the like uniqueness to the way that she's doing a bunch of the vocals in this to fit in like fun vocals. Like vocal sample. Aw, unashamed and free. Taking the mask off. Yeah, I was like, this is the first time we see his face, like the whole video. Cute.
울트라 HDR 탑재로 밝은 영역은 눈부시게,
어두운 영역은 깊이 있게.
극대화된 명암 표현으로 현실을 뛰어넘는
What?
생동감.
Huh? Were we just like, okay, first off, I think it's really interesting that we go through again all of this where it's like this bright light and shadow, right, over these faces, the two contrasts of those, and then getting to a point where they feel like they have to put on a mask in order to be themselves. But then once they spend time with each other and they've seen who each other are, that's when they can actually see each other's faces clearly, right? The moment that they just know who this person is, they can see your face because they're not like blinded by the mask of like people being like, oh, he's athletic and he's smart and he can play instruments and all these things, right? People are seeing the kind of vibrancy of who he is, or being stuck in the shadow, people like not paying attention to like IU's character, pushing her off to the side. It's the moment that these two people like actually know each other that they're able to connect and like actually see each other's faces. And I like that it's like morning time, right? So it's like a new beginning that they're able to see each other. Did we just make it into a like fake commercial? I'm assuming a fake commercial because you have to disclose if you're like promoting an actual product. So did we just make it into a fake commercial because reasons, or because like cameras and social media and like the way that we present ourselves through a filter? I'm assuming. It threw me off at the end. I'm trying to recalibrate, but like really fun song with the off-kilter production, fun delivery in the vocals that we're getting from IU, and I think like the story of the music video pulled me in, but super fun all around. So I scrolled down to the comments. I like to read those afterwards, see some of the chatter, and one of the comments is that Miin, I think, which is like the name of the product at the end, is like the romanized version of the phrase beautiful person in Korean. So that's like the joke, I think. I also noticed that there were like two as well. Again, like kind of two sides to a lot of this, right? Light and dark, masculine and feminine, right? These two halves coming together in order to like, I don't know, find some kind of like harmony or figure themselves out. Loved the music video. I think it was so fun. I think there were so many different things in it showing two kind of outliers, right? What does it mean to put on a mask? What does it mean to not be fully who you are? Like this beautiful person that this person is, like genuinely being able to see past that mask, right? And what does that mean? And I think a lot of the times we think of it as people who've been pushed to the outside, or people who are like more introverted, or people who like feel like they can't express themselves because they're like shy or whatever. But it's also people who are seen as like these wonderful people, right? These people who like can do everything and they're prodigies and they're wonderful, right? That's still like putting a bunch of pressure on them. That's still telling them that they have to be like constantly perfect, right? That's where you get like perfectionism, is these people who are like, this is part of who I am, is like being good at X, Y, and Z, right? It doesn't have to be everything, but like maybe I'm saying this is somebody who had a little bit of success at probably too young of an age, and it really does mess with your head because you're like, this is who I am as a person, instead of like actually exploring who your personality is. And when you don't progress, or like you burn out a little bit, it can be really difficult to recalibrate to that because you're like, who am I? And I think that bringing in someone who is, again, like I would recognize his face if I saw it when I saw him, right? Bringing in someone who is known as like an actor and is like fairly well known in the like South Korean media, and making him basically like anonymous in this, like covering up his face, but also like bringing in someone who like probably knows what it's like for people to have a lot of expectations of who he is supposed to be, and the kind of person, like the kind of expectations that they have regardless of whether or not they actually know him. And all these people who like then could not deal with the fact that he had this light on him with like his relationships falling apart and not being able to, like people like not liking him as much because it was like it was too bright. And I think that's also part of it too, is like the more successful you get or the better you are at things, the more that people switch from, oh my gosh, you're so amazing, to jealousy and envy and like being inconvenienced by the fact that you have that kind of success and fame or whatever. So I really liked it, and it threw me for a loop a little bit at the end. Let me know any of your thoughts. I'm sure that there's like some more explanations or like cultural things that I don't entirely know. I'm going to definitely be checking out some of the behind the scenes and all of that as well. But super fun song, super fun video. Loved it. Always do, from IU. And I hope you enjoyed listening to that along with me. You can click this play to go into my previous reactions, or you can subscribe to me next time I post an IU reaction. I will see you in the next video. Bye.